doing?
Hey.
Yep, same
I
spot.
always have to check.
1 month I'll switch and
You're
Reese
gonna
will be
switch
there
me
and
and
you'll
then
be
I'm
there.
In the wrong spot.
Why do you all trust me? I put them in the same place every time. Look, I say that, but I moved me and Dr. Schultz down one.
I said, hopefully Susan don't mind if I move this extra chair.
I hope she does.
She won't know.
She'll get over it.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, hi morning.
Did you say good morning?
I say good morning, yes. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't even know what day it is. Hey there, how are you?
Okay, are you?
Doing all right.
Coming, Troy.
How are you?
How about you? Getting up in your space.
Can't seem to get my act together today. Can't seem to get my act together today.
Just today.
No, any other day, every day.
I was gonna say, if it's just today, how good on every day like that.
Today's not such a fun. One day or a couple of days out of the month. Okay.
You're welcome.
Gee, I appreciate this. Got that one.
On the shore.
It's right there on the sound.
So that was, I mean, no, we're not, but.
No, we don't do all that stuff. Catch them for how long? Ricky went up to Explore Park and was in the wrong river.
How are you? Good.
His house.
So I can make sure I heard you that.
Hello, Mr. John.
Hey Susan, how are you?
Thank you, sir.
Jason.
Man? Well, I already did.
District pencils.
I guess.
Well, I labeled them so that everyone, you're using the same ones every week.
Are you putting them in plastic bags too?
Well, I am wiping them off.
God bless.
Can't do much with the notepads, but the pencils or something. But yes, I did do them according to district, I did keep up.
So if we're involved with each other's pencils, I think it's very bad.
Yes.
There might be consequences.
There very well could be.
Hey,
Jordan, how are you? Not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Probably very severe. The pencil bleed.
No, it's just their age. Actually,
On a pencil.
that's what happened, freaking out.
That's awesome.
Showing those. Send me his number. I'll have to text him.
I see your glasses.
They
laying
fog
down.
up.
Oh.
this special call meeting of Bedford County School Board of 22 September 2020 to order. Ms. Johnson, please call the roll.
Mr. Leamy?
Here.
Mrs. Kirby?
Here.
Mrs. Hairston?
Here.
Dr. Hicks?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Dr. Mealy?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved as written. All right, Dr. Dewis, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Leamy. I attended the Bedford County Board of Supervisors meeting on September 14th, at which time the Board of Supervisors, along with the county administration, was discussing round 2 of the County CARES Act funds that have been awarded to the county. There were a variety of topics discussed, from different county agencies. The one that pertained to the school system involved the items that are on the listed in the board docs agenda item for this for tonight. The supervisors at that meeting endorsed setting aside approximately $1.5 million for the replacement of the heating and cooling systems, the HVAC systems at Huddleston Elementary and Moneta Elementary Schools. Those were the best estimates, we were able to offer them at that time. As it turns out, they're pretty close. The more refined estimates are maybe 1.6 million in that range, but pretty close to that. The supervisors at that time also were open to providing additional CARES Act money for other projects that the school system may need that qualify for CARES Act funding. And were reluctant to go ahead and approve those as they did the Huddleston and Moneta projects at that time because, for one, there were some cost estimates for other county projects that weren't in yet that they wanted to consider at their next meeting, which is planned to be on September 28th, next week. For another reason, they were also interested in receiving input from the school board related to the priorities for other items. Now, they went ahead and approved the Huddleston and Moneta projects, and so they wanted the school board they wanted to be sure the school board was good with that. Those are items that have been on our capital improvement plan for a while, and so that certainly they asked for that input, and they also asked for input on other projects in a ranked order, a priority order, in case there are additional funds available once they address other county needs in the CARES Act process. And so for the purposes of discussion, we listed in the item on board docs tonight several options related to, or several projects that qualify for CARES Act funding and are needed in our schools in an order that the staff thinks is appropriate based on need. And so we hope that the school board tonight can discuss those, get any questions answered that you need, and consider what order of these projects or others that we can take back to the Board of Supervisors and communicate with them regarding any other potential funding that is available.
So basically, we're looking at two things we need to consider tonight. We need to approve round 2 funding that the Board of Supervisors has given us for Huddleston and Moneta HVAC systems. Is that correct? And then separately, we have to consider potential round 3 prioritization of projects. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve Phase 2 funding for HVAC systems at Huddleston Elementary School and Manita Elementary School?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Hicks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Johnson.
I'm most appreciative of the supervisors for prioritizing these two projects. They're much needed and they've been on our CIP for a while, and happy to see momentum on these now, so.
It's y'all's turn too.
Yes, that too.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I just have some questions about this, and I say at the beginning, I totally agree with it. They need to be done, and I'm glad we have the money to do it. But I need some help understanding how we went from about 600,000 for these to 1.6 million. And the reason I say that is because you and I talked about the Downey study, the Downey and Scott study, and I did my homework with that and looked at those numbers. And what I found was that their estimate just 16 months ago was a little over $351,000. And then when we went to our November CIP that this board approved, and I was at that meeting, that number still stayed in there for the money. It actually went down a little bit to $336,600, and now it's anywhere between 750 on up. And that's happened with all of these schools. We have these numbers from this study that we paid a lot of money for. The board looked at a CIP and still said, okay, those numbers are good numbers. And really at that time, what you were saying in November, which is 10 months ago, that 4 schools, to do all 4 schools would be $1,380,500, and now we're at $1.5 or $6 million.
Yeah, I can offer two reasons that I think the numbers are different now. One is that in this economy and supply chain, there has been an escalation of costs on mechanical equipment and other construction materials. We witnessed a little bit of that just watching the Forest Middle School project as well. I think over the course of that project, the contractors were worried about escalating prices, and we're glad that they had gotten them when they did. The second is that because we're operating on a December 2020 timeframe, I think there's a premium for making sure the work is done in that quick a fashion. Normally, there might be a design process that would last a little longer, and these companies, if these projects are approved, will have to jump on this very quickly and really accelerate their work on the front end, as well as getting orders in, and then working at whatever speed they need to get them functioning by December. So I think those are the two reasons that folks in the industry would say the costs are somewhat higher than what we may have had estimated in the past.
Okay, well,
Yes,
okay, continue. Well, you said there was a percentage of increase. What was the percentage of increase? Because my numbers are showing a 60% increase.
I didn't say a percentage of
I know, I'm
increase.
just asking, what is you said there was an increase, a percentage of increase. What is I think certainly I understand that companies have to drop everything and are doing this, I get that. And again, I don't disagree with this. I'm just saying that's a staggering difference. It's not to me a reasonable difference, it's staggering. And what is that premium that you're talking about here? How much more are they charging us to do this by December?
I don't know that the costs are that much different from what the costs for Bedford Primary ended up being, that we just finished less than a year ago, or about a year ago. I don't know that I can answer your question any better than.
Okay, well, because like I said, all the documents that you've provided as the Chief Operations Officer all have different numbers. And so this is concerning to me as a board member because, these are your numbers, Dr. Jewis, they're not my numbers. And the difference is staggering. And I'm just concerned that why our CIPs are not on target and give us a reasonable, I expect, 5%, 10%, even maybe 20%. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about a much larger percent of increase, and it's very concerning that we don't have that information. And what's even more concerning is the draft CIP for fiscal year 2021 through 2025 has those same numbers in there. So as we move forward, I mean, this is supposed to be a roadmap for everybody, the county as well as us, for when we run into situations like this. But these numbers are completely, they're just, I say this lovingly, but they're fantasy numbers. They have no bearing on what it actually costs. So I'm not sure any of these documents do us any good. And I'm a little embarrassed because I know that the Board of Supervisors, counted on they were looking at these numbers, and Mr. Tuck was saying, so it's gonna run us somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000, somewhere around there. And it was like, no, for two schools, it's gonna run us 1.5 million. I mean, I think that just makes us all look bad. And I just don't understand how we don't have, these are recent documents. They are not years and years old. They are 10 months old. And I'm just concerned that why we don't have updated information and why this isn't kept up to date. I mean, some costs are 3 times what are listed in there. That's a lot.
Mr. Hope?
So Mac, are those recent estimates that you've actually received from the company of what they can do and how much it's gonna cost?
The ones listed in the.
Right, so the ones that we're here to approve tonight are the actual cost. So Susan, do you and Tammy have somebody that can do it cheaper, or?
Well, that question was, did we do, for me, the answer, can we do, are we allowed to do this? Okay. I don't have anybody to do it cheaper. I don't know, what I'm saying is, what my concern is, like I said, I agree we should do it. And I'm just concerned that the numbers that we have in all of our public documents are completely
Right.
incorrect.
So numbers change all the time as
But
far
not
as
to
estimates.
this degree, not when you're
Well, I
talking.
think he just gave you
you
reasons
know.
why they could have. And so now when we're bringing it to the table to get funding for it, these are the actual dollars that it's gonna cost. So we either approve it or we don't.
But I think we also have to fix the process. That's
Dr.
another-
Dewis, if I can interrupt, Dr. Dewis, are these numbers based on documented bids from contractors?
These were not based on bids. We went to an alternate procurement method of participating in larger contracts that allowed other educational entities and public entities to become riders on those contracts. So both Honeywell and Southern Air had these larger contracts with larger entities that we were able, under procurement law, to follow. Had we done a bid process, we would have had to take several weeks to have a design, several weeks to have it out to bid, time to award the bid, and we would not have met the December timeframe.
Okay, I guess my fundamental question is, do we have something documented? Okay, that outlines the cost, so these aren't, hey, this is what I think it's gonna cost, telephonic or smoke signal sort of things. I mean, it's actually documented, that these costs are documented from the contractor.
Specific pieces of equipment, control systems, labor, all of that, yes.
Got it.
That's my question.
Anyone else?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would just say that as we move forward into the budget process for 2021, that the CIP, I would ask that we have a CIP that is a good working document and not something that has numbers that, are, I think we need to keep this up every year and make sure our numbers are good, solid numbers, so the Board of Supervisors are having a decent draft in front of them. Because right now, the numbers that I spoke about are in the draft moving forward for the next 4 years, and they're obviously numbers that are incorrect.
Got it. Anyone else? Okay, we got a motion, we got a second, we've had our discussion, last chance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The Phase 2 CARES Act funding is approved. All right, next issue we need to consider. You mentioned that there is a possibility, no promises, that we may have another opportunity or another round of funding depending upon other projects that the Board of Supervisors has to consider throughout the county. So what they have asked us to do is to prioritize our list of upcoming projects that could be funded with potential CARES Act money. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And what I'm looking at right here, these are prioritized. Replace HVAC system at Big Island, $600,000. HVAC system at Forest Elementary. Now, are these figures that are on this list, are they also, is there any kind of documented contractor input on costs?
Yes, these estimates have been refined somewhat since this was published. Honeywell got some information to us in the intervening days. Not very different. Big Island is estimated to be between $550,000 and $650,000. So that's, the 600,000 is right in the middle of that estimate. Forest Elementary is estimated to be at $625,000 to $725,000. So actually, the estimate of $800,000 is a little high for that one, as Honeywell has refined their estimate. So.
Okay, then the duct clean, I guess all my questions are related to these numbers here.
Duct cleaning was a second bid, second quote that we got. The first one was higher than this. This is a second one. We were seeking a third one, trying to find another company who does that work. This was for all schools. Of course, if we replace HVAC systems at some of those would come off of that number, and so that 810, I imagine, would come down from that based on the fact that the newer systems would not need cleaning. So I will say about that, and the filters is just really a fairly broad estimate. That's just based on having additional filters in place to change them out more frequently. The carpet replacements are our best estimates based on recent projects that we've done in the last few years. I will say that in the discussion with the Board of Supervisors, their most enthusiastic interests were in the HVAC systems, the group did not give an indication that they gave particular support to any of the other items. I think they understood them and thought that they were important to do if we were able, but they were particularly looking at the capital projects.
So, I mean, your takeaway from that meeting was, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to digest what you're telling me here. What your takeaway was, as far as any future funding, is that they would very likely be enthusiastic about the HVAC systems, which, we're looking at, if there is a round 3 and they decide to go with the HVAC systems, we're looking at another 1.5 million. Or another ballpark, million.
One or both of it, but one or both of them are funded, that's right.
Now, so I think that, well, for a litany of reasons, I think that those two are definitely should be first priority. And within those two, you are prioritizing Big Island because it's older, correct?
They're both approximately the same age. Troy Doss, our maintenance supervisor, is here, and I think he can speak a little bit to why Big Island, and then followed closely by Forest Elementary, are important.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, we got two HVAC systems roughly the same age, what bumps
They're
one,
very similar, yeah.
what bumps one up over the other?
Looking at Big Island, over the past, I've been here going on 3 years, we've replaced 2 compressors. It's a one large unit that serves the entire school. And 2017, prior to me getting here, they replaced the compressor, and then we replaced another one last year. So the thing is that when you replace one of those compressors in the big units, it's, just to get the compressor, it's like $14,000, and then you have to pay somebody to install it. So it gets up to about $20-some thousand. So that's I would say that's where we've had more issues there than, say, Forest Elementary. But the two schools are relatively the same. If we have critical failure in either of those two schools, the whole school is down, not just, like at Holston or some places that have rooftop units, 2 classrooms could go down as opposed to, Forest Elementary or Big Island, we lose the entire school, so. And plus, age of the equipment.
Dr. Hicks?
Do we have enough time to do both Forest and Big Island in this calendar year?
Honeywell assures us that they do, if they are able to get approval next Monday from the Board of Supervisors. And they're, interested in moving ahead very quickly with that. They've done a lot of homework already, and I think know what they need to order. We'll get that order off directly, and we'll have an opportunity then to install it, November, early December timeframe.
Ms. Garber?
Mr. Dawes, I hate to put you on the spot, but in your honest opinion, Big Island and Forest Elementary are the priorities over the other schools?
Which other schools?
Such as Stewartsville, Goodview, any of those?
They, at this point, yes. They all need some work. And when I think, just like I mentioned before, just when I think about if there's a failure, we lose the entire school as opposed to a classroom here, 2 classrooms and so forth.
Then can I just piggyback off one real quick thing? These filters that we're talking about putting in, are they special filters or are they just your normal?
These are our normal filters, just changing them more often.
So we're paid change them more frequently, okay.
I looked into getting the MERV 13 filters, talked to Honeywell about that. With the age of our equipment, it would be hard on the equipment as far as, the amount of airflow trying to get through and so forth, and we would end up losing a lot of equipment. Plus the MERV filters are too large, they don't fit in our equipment.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Hairston?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dawes, can you share a little bit with us regarding Boonesboro Elementary School? I know that particular school is a very aged school and has had some issues with their HVAC system as well. And you spoke earlier about the systems and the failure, consistent failure at these schools, Big Island, which I certainly know that is a fact. But if you could speak to Boonesboro for me, what issues have we had at Boonesboro and how frequent?
When we have, the calls that we have out there are typically a classroom that's units down, maybe one side of the unit or it's not working and so forth. Boonesboro is under Honeywell contract, so they service the boiler and they service several of the rooftop units there. But it's just like any other school. I mean, you may go a week and not have anything go on, and then you've got a couple classrooms out the next week. But we're able to service it and keep it running. But there's several schools that, I'm just not sure how much longer we can continue to do this.
Would you say that Boonesboro is one of those schools?
Boonesboro, Montvale, yes.
Absolutely. I think it goes without saying that so many of our schools are in grave need for new HVAC systems. And I would just say to the board that any additional money that may come our way, I personally think that our focus should be on replacing HVAC systems at other schools. While I understand that carpet is certainly a grave need too, a lot of the carpet does need to be removed. But I think while we have this opportunity to make this type of difference in terms of capital improvement and addressing an area that's so crucial. We really need to seize that. And I would ask that the board and other school officials that you all strongly consider Boonesboro. I know that that school has had a lot of difficulties. I know that there's been repairs that have gone on. And I certainly would like to see Boonesboro strongly considered, if we do receive additional money, as being one of those schools to have an upgraded HVAC system.
Anybody else? Mr. Goss, can you come up with a prioritized list of HVAC or schools that are, that need replacement of their HVAC systems, basically?
Sure.
That way, we can have, and Ms. Harrison makes a very good point. I mean, this stuff's great, 3, 4, and 5, but I think that, and understanding that money is always an issue, I think we need to start hitting on the bigger ticket items if we have the money to do so. So if you can come up with a list, a prioritized list of the remaining schools in order that you think that their HVAC systems need to be replaced or upgraded. Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Question regarding item number 3, the duct cleaning. If the supervisors do choose to provide the updated HVAC systems at Big Island and Forest, and we're not able to get to the duct cleaning, is that something that we could work on in-house? Because I know I've heard some interest in some of our schools of getting ductwork cleaned, especially now.
Yeah, we had talked about trying to get the schools on a cycle, do several here this year. Maybe a yearly cycle, doing several schools at a time.
Thank you.
Just curious, when was the last time that the ducts in the schools were cleaned, professionally cleaned?
Not since I've been here.
So that could help affect overall health, not just COVID related.
Mr. Chairman?
Really?
I would also like to bring before the board some other priorities for us to consider, and this is just in case the Board of Supervisors, and I'm just gonna pick a number here, say it's $2 million that they'll give us, and they say we'll cover two HVAC systems. We'll only do Huddleston and Manita, but we have another few $100,000 that we can give you, but it's not enough to do an HVAC system. I'd like to present them too with some lower cost items that they might consider if they don't want to do all of this, the HVAC for us. Okay, I did talk to quite a few principals. I just told them that we had this money and, is there anything that they needed or felt like they wanted with regard to COVID? And what they said was that the electrostatic sprayers, people really wanted to have additions of those, especially in buildings where they had more than one building, in campuses where they had more than one building. Another suggestion that I thought was really good was an air scrubber. I have a name called Blue Air for our clinics, so that they have, you're having sick people come in there, and that's a specific thing that can keep our clinics a little cleaner. Another principal was interested in extended childcare beyond December. Another one talked about sustainability, just concerned about, is it important for us to put some money aside to continue to cover PPE or some of the supplies that we need, like the wipes and things like that, and I don't have the answers, I'm just saying, I'm just bringing this information to the board. And this one I thought was really good. We know we talked a couple of months about landscaping companies to do the lawn mowing, and one principal said that her custodian had come and said, you know, if they would pay us, you know, we'll come on Saturday and Sunday to mow, if that's a possibility. I thought that was a really good idea as well. Almost everyone complained about the nano stickers that are still on our doors, wondering if they're any good, or should they be removed, or can they be replaced? And I know they were there when I was principal, so I don't know how long they last. I'm sure it's not 10 years. So they were concerned about that, or had some feelings about that. And then I also did get several emails from teachers who had heard, who were looking at this meeting, and they were saying, and I just don't know enough about this, I'm trying to learn, but they said that we've been using basic Canvas that was provided by the state of Virginia, and that it's been very hard to use Canvas in a way that provides interactive lessons and not just tests and quizzes. They wondered if, because of COVID and the fact that there's so much online learning, if we could possibly purchase extensions, Nearpod and Kami, that would make the process more teacher-friendly and student-friendly, and aid in hands-on types of learning activities. And they said what they're using now are currently external tools, but that was a major complaint from parents. And this person, one of these people, was one that had participated in phone calls to families. So this particular person said, I heard that a lot. So that might be something else that we could look into, so that we had a list of priorities that included some really high-priced items and some other items in case we're in a situation where we can't do everything, but they might be able to do a little bit more.
Dr. Lewis, did you come away with any kind of feel for potentially how much is floating around out there with these other projects?
I don't know that that's safe to say. The county talked about doing some upgrades to their meeting space with technology and maybe even the arrangement of the room. And they had no estimate for that really nailed down. They also have talked in the meeting before this past one about some hazard pay, COVID era pay for first responders. And again, I don't know that I have an amount that they have set aside for that. So the short answer is no. But those are the types of things they're also considering.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Hypothetical situation, they say, okay, we'll give you $2 million, you can cover HVAC at Big Island and Forest, that's 1.4, that leaves us $600,000. Would they allow us to, discretionary use of that remaining money? Or do they have an expectation that what we give them goes towards a specific capital project?
I tend to think it's closer to the latter, that they wanted us, the school board, to identify some specific items at this point. Mr. Sharp said that, for example, and he had some agreement among others that, if they were able to fund these HVAC improvements at additional schools, that would give a head start to future capital needs that were on the list, and allow those funds to be, to go toward other needs that they know exist in the schools and in the county, other county agencies. So I think the request was for a specific list, and so that's why we presented this to you, and perhaps there are other things you'd like to add.
Could we put a placeholder item in there for PPE, stockage, like we did with the filters?
Let me speak to that real quick. The first round of the county money and also some of the PPE I have applied for. It's called a gear grant. I should have notice on that hopefully next week, first week of October. They're waiting to make that announcement. So some of that PPE is gonna be reimbursed through that. Anything that I don't get on the gear, I'll switch over and use the county money for. But we told the county administrator and the staff over there that, you know, our good effort, we're gonna go after this competitive money first, before asking them for theirs. So I have over 300,000 I'm waiting to find out about that on. In addition, we have not expended all the 1.5 million of the initial round, but that, I've already put in one request for over 600,000, and I'll put another request in. So we're spending that down pretty quickly. As we have been going forward initially, we are still continuing to buy and stock up on PPE and cleaning supplies. I'm allocating those expenditures to that first round of 1.5. So we're continuing to stock up with that money on that one right now. So there's some things that came in under budget, or what we anticipated when we first gave that initial thing. And so we're really focused on PPE and things like that, and also cleaning by custodians. So that's where our focus is on that initial round right now.
Mr. Hill?
Yeah, so Mac, is Forest Middle School, the older building, is it still in need of a HVAC replacement?
It is, along with carpet roof and painting, and that's the part of that project that wasn't funded initially. The amount though for that system, because it's a larger school, was larger than this budget would have allowed.
I get it, and that's where, so Martin, what I was gonna ask is if we could agree to put all of the HVAC needs, whatever dollar amount it is, and put them in order, so we can get like the 4 elementary schools that are listed, but then truly go after those big dollar items if we can get that CARES Act funding. I mean, I can't see us agreeing for $810,000 for duct cleaning when we've got systems that are literally, I mean, they're on their last leg. So,
Well, and that's kind of where I was going with what I asked Mr. Doss for, was, you know, a prioritized list so that we can start plugging in these
Right.
big ticket items.
I would rather agree as a board to say HVAC dollars, if we can get dollars to cover whatever HVAC projects versus $810,000 duct cleaning. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me if we've got HVACs that are on the brink of being non-existent.
Dr. Shook?
I just want to make sure, I don't know that these contractors can get more than 4 of these done by December. So I want to make sure for our conversation tonight that the priority list, can we do more than 4, do you think?
You know, certainly funding is a big part of this. Time at this point is also a big part of this, and so I don't know that adding other HVAC systems at this point and having companies come out this week or next week just to do their initial inspection of the site. Now, I just don't know if a company's gonna feel like they could get it done by December to add at this point to that. I do think that list, you know, updating our list that we've had going for a number of years to prioritize is something that helps us when we perhaps we get other maintenance funding in next year's budget, you know, and any other opportunity.
Well, I mean, we need it anyway, so if you could proceed with that. And then, you know, Board of Supervisors might, looking at the glasses half full sort of thing. I mean, they may come up with more money. I mean, consistently, they've been giving us 1.5. Potentially, they could go higher than that. And if they do, you know, we need to be prepared, if that money is available, to launch on one of these big ticket items, if it can be completed by December 31st.
We have full confidence that those, any one or multiple ones of those carpet projects could be. The carpets in the first 3 schools are, you know, 30-year-old carpets, and cleaning a tile floor like this is just so much more sanitary than whatever we can try to do on this carpet. That's, just as Dr. Mealy said, having some needed but smaller ticket items in the HVAC systems in case the funding is available, we thought also was very important, and really is the reason for those items on the list. We made a big dent in several schools over the years. These are still pretty extensive needs.
Dr. Mealy?
Mr. Keigler, can you tell me, what was, I have a couple questions. The 600,000, you said something about, I just did something for 600,000
I submitted my first reimbursement over to the county.
to the county, okay. So can you tell me how much money we've already spent from round one?
Probably right around 900,000 to $1 million. It might be higher than that. I mean, I worked on that first round reimbursement. There's still some things coming through payroll that'll come through this month from the summer. And so I'll do a second one, probably, mid-October, towards the end of October. And then I'll do one final one for that first round before the end of the year.
Okay, so we could possibly have about a few $100,000 there.
Going with the estimates that I have right now, where I'm thinking things are coming in, I think we have about 132 right now.
Left over.
I'm saying leftover, but we've continued to buy PP&E, so I think we've dug into that some. And I've been working with the maintenance department on coming up with some help and solutions for the mowing. And so I think we're moving forward with that. And just to let you know, I don't know if we're supposed to get into this tonight, but outsourcing lawn care does not qualify for CARES Act. We've talked to our attorneys and we've talked to our auditors, so you can't do that, so.
I mean, if the money's gotta be spent by the 31st of December, we would just be mowing for the sake of mowing, I mean, cause.
Correct, but not only that, it's for cleaning and things like that, so we've redirected that really towards our own staff, that we want them in the building really cleaning. And so if the mowing has to be put on hold to the weekend or to afterwards, the cleaning is what's costing the overtime. The overtime does qualify for CARES Act reimbursement for cleaning. And so we've taken that approach, and Mr. Doss has been working with the custodians and maintenance crew to see who wants to do that, to make sure that we're doing the proper cleaning and that the mowing doesn't distract us from that. So we found a way to do that. So my goal is probably to use some of that first round to cover the overtime that we're gonna incur between September and October, however long we're gonna continue to mow here.
Have we looked into, I know last meeting we talked about additional custodial help on a temporary basis?
Yes, on top of that, there are schools that have, Mr. Dawson, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I can. We did reach out after the last board meeting to several temp agencies, firms. We found one that specializes in custodial support and have reached an agreement with them to provide 5-hour-a-day help mostly to our smaller schools who only have 2 custodians on staff. If one is out sick or out mowing, there's only one who may be even on a different shift. And for schools where currently vacancies exist where we haven't filled, or it's taken a while to fill. So we've got a few of those folks coming in 5 hours a day starting Monday. In addition to authorizing overtime for our own staff in the larger schools, to put off anything non-cleaning related to outside hours. So between those two strategies, I think we're able to give some good support to our custodians.
Sarah?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just go back for just a second, just for clarification, Dr. Dewey. In terms of the HVAC for Manita and Huddleston, what was the total cost again? And is it a pretty definitive figure?
Yes, Huddleston, we have an exact cost on at this point, and that cost is $797,470, so right at $800,000.
Okay.
Manita at this point, because it's a little behind in the cycle, there's a range with the high end being 850,000. So I hope it doesn't come in that high after they do the final pricing, but that's the higher end of that range.
I'm looking at, let me preference this by saying, I am not an expert when it comes to HVAC systems, not at all. I don't have a clue other than going and turning on my unit when I need to and adjusting it. But I'm looking at the size of these schools, like Manita, and $850,000 would be the cost for that?
Essentially.
Did we look at any other companies?
At this point, we talked with the company Honeywell that we have a performance contract with. And they told us really the kind of outside limits of what they thought they could accomplish in the time. Manita was outside of that, so we reached out to another local company for that one who has done recent work for us on a very similar project. And so no, we didn't go out to bid and seek all of that.
Right, I understood we
No
didn't do
time.
that. Yeah, I understand that piece. I guess I'm just thinking that's a pretty high-end number there for a school that size. And again, I'm looking at how can we really utilize this money to meet the needs of some other schools? Because there's a grave need out there for replacement, and I know you all know that. Again, I'd like to just say, Dr. Beely had mentioned just having this other list that includes PPE and things like that, and I certainly think that there's always a need to have additional, and I appreciate the fact that Mr. Hagler has indicated that there's money for that, should we need that, and that will be upgraded continuously. I just want to say once again that we have schools out there that have grave needs of having their HVAC system replaced. If we're given this gift, it needs to be a priority. We need to ensure that we utilize this money to help replace these systems. That's all I wanted to say, once again.
Could I, and I don't think I was clear enough the last time. And again, these guys are the experts, because Ms. Hairston brought up that point again. I don't believe we're in a position where we feel like any more HVAC systems are gonna make it by December. And that's why these other projects, the duct cleaning, the filters, and the carpet, which we acknowledge are lower priorities, but to Mr. Leamy's earlier point, if there's additional money, some of those are on the list because we know we can get them done, and we have to do them at some point. So I just wanna make sure that no one walks away from here thinking, unless you guys think it, that we could go over there and throw more HVAC systems and say they'd be done by December, because I've not heard you all say that.
No, I think the
Because
element
of the timeline, so I think the conversation about HVAC replacements is a down the road, and it's separate from what we're doing here this evening, if I understand it correctly. Is that, I just wanna be clear, because I wanna make sure we're all on the same page here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I certainly understood it in that
Okay,
light.
okay.
I just
Wanna make
simply
sure.
wanted to make sure that if additional, as I said earlier, if there's additional funding given to us, then we need to make those HVAC systems a priority at other schools.
And I think we fully agree, I know I do, and if these deadlines are extended by any act of Congress that might come, if they can agree to do something like that, or give additional funds in a new round of CARES Act, or the HEROES Act, or whatever it might come.
Nonetheless, though, I mean, we need to have that handy
That's right.
for when we update our CIP priorities.
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Hill?
Mike, real quick, can equipment be ordered and not installed?
What I understand is that projects need to be substantially complete by December, and the way Honeywell, for example, is defining that is they need to be heating and cooling the building by that time. So I think there are some outs if there is a COVID-related manufacturer delay, for example, and this is on the books, there's been a plan for it. I think there's some grace, in the law that way. But for the most part, I think they have to be substantially complete.
And Dr. Duce, I heard what you just said. There's no, any way we can apply for any sort of extension or grace or anything like that? Silly question, but
Well,
just asking.
I don't think we would be, this is money that's come directly to the county, and I think the deadline at this point is
December 31st, okay.
Okay, so for purposes of next week's Board of Supervisors meeting, we need to bring a list to the table to them, yes?
Yes.
I think we're all in agreement. The HVAC systems at Big Island and Forest are Sports Elementary are top priority. And basically, if Board of Supervisors follows recent trends of the 1.5 million, that's gonna eat that up. So the question becomes now, I think we're all, are we all in agreement on that? That these two, okay.
On those two HVAC systems?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on that. Now, the question becomes, in the event that additional money is available, what do we want to be the next one or two items? Now, do we need to, would it be sufficient to just tell them, take the HVAC systems to them as our priorities, or do you think that we need to have additional items?
I do think that would certainly be appropriate. What I might suggest, based on some feedback that I received at that meeting, or that was just discussed among supervisors, was that they seem to prioritize the capital one-time type of projects. So, for example, the duct cleaning, which really is more of an operational or maintenance cost, really, I don't think we win support based on what I heard the other night. Same with filters, because we have lines for equipment repair, replace, those sorts of things. And so it may be that some of the carpet projects or other one-time type projects that you all might add. It might be that one or two of those could be added. It's hard to predict. Not knowing the cost of those other county projects, in my opinion, I would encourage to have as full a list as possible and allow them to go down it as far as they feel like they can.
You never know.
So do we move item 5, the carpet replacement, move that up to over top of or before duct cleaning? That way we've got 3, well, actually more, but 3 one-time in and done projects, where if we do move the carpet replacement to item 3, we've got, what, five projects within that carpet replacement project that, depending upon how much money we do get, we can do whatever project's appropriate given the figure that we have to work with. Does that make any sense whatsoever to anyone?
Yes.
Okay, because it really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I mean, is everybody okay with that? Yes, ma'am.
If I may ask a question.
Yes.
I'm processing this and understanding too. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you want us to maintain the 2 schools HVAC with Big Island and Forest Elementary.
Yes,
You would
ma'am.
want them to be on that list.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and then following that, the duct cleaning,
No, what I'm saying is,
the carpet replacement.
yes, and the reason being is, from what Dr. Dewis is saying, the Board of Supervisors are much more supportive of, okay, non-recurring projects, which would be, the carpet replacement, the duct cleaning. We can do some of that on our own, and also duct cleaning would be something that would occur during HVAC replacement, correct?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for clarification,
Yes.
as I'm understanding this, and I know all of this is just, we're prayerfully and wishful thinking here, and we hope we will get more money. I have to say again that I just think it's important that we take advantage of the funds we're going to get, additional funds, and that we look at other schools that are in grave need of HVAC systems. And I say to you once again, that Boonesboro Elementary School needs to be included among that list. We've got Big Island, Forest Elementary, and I think Boonesboro Elementary School needs to follow. That's a very old school. And Mr. Doss has spoken and said that they've had to do a number of repairs. I understand it's under Honeywell, but it's been quite frequent repairs for that particular school. My concern is let's get most bang for our money here, and let's focus on an HVAC system.
Well, the question becomes then, if we put that as number 3, and we don't have, first off, we don't know what that's gonna cost.
No,
Correct.
all this is hypothetical.
But if we put that as number 3 and we don't get enough money to do that, we're gonna have to jump over to something else. Does that make
That does make sense, but
And there's not enough time to do it.
There's not enough time.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the thing. These projects have to be completed by 31 December of this year,
I thought
based on
uh-huh.
the county
Right.
money. The county is on a
understand.
different deal than we are.
Yeah, I understand that piece of it, but I thought I heard Dr. Dewis say earlier that potentially they could do another school. You did not say that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
The companies we've talked to,
So only 2 schools is the limit that they can do?
Well, it's
well, we.
4 schools.
we add
Well,
these
so
two,
many
it
to
would
be
be
If we
on.
add these 2, but one more, they just wouldn't be able to do a 5th school?
Well, they may have the labor to do it, there just hasn't been any prep work at this point to go out and examine it and then design. And
So I would say
that's been
then,
done at those 4 schools so that
Mhm.
they've primed the pump a little bit so that they
Mhm.
can,
then I would say that we should, because there's still that gray area, there's still the uncertainty. You don't really know. That we should ask and see if it can be done, if that money does become available.
Well, here's the issue. Unless we have another meeting,
I'm all for another meeting if
well, I
it's
don't
gonna.
know, I don't see them getting the prep work done in time for us to make a decision prior to the Board of Supervisors meeting. Is that,
on Monday.
yeah,
No, it takes them several weeks to schedule a visit to the school. I mean, even if we call in favors and get them out there quickly, then they've gotta have their design people work.
Right.
It's not for lack of a will, it's just,
Ms. Kirby?
Was any of the design work done though when we did the elementary facility study? They requested, suggested replacing?
not so much design, they did identify the parts, and that information is helpful to a company when they begin a design. They know exactly, they can take stock of what's there. And that does give them some advantage as they start, but it's not a design.
Troy, on Boonesboro, since Honeywell has taken over that, so last time I was out there, they had buckets catching condensation in the halls. Has that been fixed since Honeywell has started maintaining that?
How long ago was that?
Last year.
Yeah,
Last
not
year.
even, it hadn't been a year, I mean,
Right.
it's in the old
I
part
know
of,
where you're talking about, yes, we
By
fixed
the
that, we
gym.
fixed that area,
Okay.
that was.
cause that was a big concern for
Yes.
that.
Yeah, we
that
did
school.
fix that area.
Okay.
But, Honeywell, they take care of the boiler, they take care of, like I said, some of the rooftop units, and changing out filters and so forth, so.
And the Honeywell contract is not that they just do maintenance on them, they actually take responsibility for
Pretty much take ownership.
major repair and replacement of a certain level of damage.
Dr. Mealy?
Yes, I just wanted to say that since we're not looking at duct cleaning and filters, is that correct? Am I correct with that? We're doing that in-house.
What I'm hearing is that the Board of Supervisors will be supportive of one-time projects like replacement of the HVAC and
Right.
replacement of the carpet, not so much duct cleaning and filters. Is that incorrect?
That was my basic understanding
Okay.
from that.
Well, that is almost another $1 million right there. I would really like to know if we could get, if we're gonna do carpet, which I'm not sure that they're really thrilled about carpet, but if we're gonna do that, can't we get that done at all schools? We have millions of carpet companies here, tile people.
We could do more, I think potentially in the timeframe. The reason that the list stopped where it did is just that there's $6.9 million of County CARES Act money, and the total list we had was about $5.9 million, and we knew the county had other needs. So there are other areas that have carpet that's worn, if you will.
I'd like to see us.
Ticket items.
Yeah, I'd like to see us some schools have like just a library left, or they have an office area left or something, that if we're gonna do it, And again, the board of supervisors can say, we'll do this one and this one, but not these. All schools ought to be on there so that all the carpet gets replaced.
Well, I think the point that Dr. Dewis was trying to make is everything we have submitted is what, would you say 5.9?
Something
And the county has 6.9?
nine.
So
with other departments.
with other projects that they
Right.
are looking at doing. So
Right, they're not gonna
we've pretty
give
much
us,
maxed,
I would,
pretty much maxed out what we can ask for at this particular point.
I mean, I would say, and again, I wasn't there,
they're not.
we could get these 4-H vacs, that is a major benefit for this community. And
Yeah, because otherwise,
and that's about half their money right there, their total.
I mean, otherwise, the HVAC projects, I've seen the elevator these things, these cans got kicked down the road for years and years and years, and now we're being presented with the opportunity to get four of our schools, HVACs replaced. And I think that's huge, and we should be very thankful for that. Now, for purposes of Monday's meeting, I think with the list that we have here and the input that we've gotten in terms of the Board of Supervisors' preference for projects, go in, get it done, get on with your life. What we're looking at here for, if they give us something over and above $1.5 million, which would say they give us 1.5,
That would cover
we've got
the
100,000 left. And if we move the carpet replacement, putting in tile, the vinyl tile, which is much easier to clean than carpets, we can get that done. Or, if we I just think we need to better prioritize this to reflect one-time projects. Does that make any sense?
Mr. Chairman, they also said that, they call for COVID, related things. That's why, the electrostatic cleaners, the scrubbers for the clinics, I think would also, again, just something, it can be at the bottom of the list, but it might be something that they're only gonna do 2 HVAC systems, and if we, I don't disagree with asking for 4, I just think that's probably a pipe dream, I don't think they're gonna do 4. I have no basis on saying that, except that seems like a heck of a lot of money and they have other projects. And I just like to have other things on the list that we might be able to get that's COVID related. They don't have to be one time. It can be also COVID related, and like those electrostatic sprayers and the scrubbers for the clinic are certainly things that would qualify for that. And we
Well,
might get-
vinyl tile does too, because it's much,
30 years of germs.
basically. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was just gonna say that kind of aligns with what I've heard as well, that the supervisors had intended for this wave of COVID CARES funding to be more for capital improvement projects and things like that. And in light of their generosity to even consider these, I don't think we should presume upon that too much by asking for an exorbitant amount. Certainly give them a wish list, but let's not put everything that we might possibly want in a perfect world on the list and just kind of overwhelm them with requests. Let's be reasonable, and I think the list here with maybe a few modifications in terms of numbering is a good, reasonable request.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
just one more question here. So if I'm understanding this correctly then, so if we get another round of funding, then we're looking at Big Island and Forest Elementary School.
Correct.
Okay, and then potentially the carpet replacement.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So my question, if I may ask, Dr. Dewis or Mr. Doss, in terms of Forest Elementary School and Boonesboro, yes, I'm gonna mention Boonesboro again. You could just tell me the difference between those schools and in terms of the need. Because, again, I'm looking at Boonesboro, it's a very old school. That system has been there.
It is an old school. In 2016, when this was assessed, the boiler, which has a 30-year lifespan, we typically get many more than that from a boiler. It was 27 years old. A lot of the overhead air handlers and equipment were 5 years under their lifespan at that school, or 2 to 5 years under their lifespan. The automation system had been replaced early 2000s there, and had not reached its lifespan. I don't think there's any question about comparative need between Forest Elementary and Boonesboro at this point. Both require work for sure. I think, as Mr. Dawes said, Forest Elementary is a failure away from the whole school not having heating, cooling, or air circulation, so.
That would not be the case at Boonesboro?
No.
Okay.
The design of the system is different and enables there to be, it's just more sectioned off in its
Alright.
design. And the
Okay,
equipment's newer.
that's all the questions I have, I promise.
Anybody else? Questions? Anybody have any thoughts on modifying the project list and moving carpet replacement up underneath HVAC?
Yes, I agree.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Good, Dr. Mealy?
Yeah, I just think we also ought to have some of the other COVID-related things on there in case they say no, but they have some extra money.
All right, there you have it.
Prioritized
Do we need to
list.
vote on that, or I think we just went around the room, got consensus on it?
They asked us to vote, at
Well,
least
we
that's what
voted
I read
on-
in the paper.
Well, what we voted on was round two. So do we need to vote on this, or is consensus, I mean, we got
You got consensus, right?
unanimous consensus on it?
It doesn't matter for us, but
I think this
if you all wanna formalize it with a
Yeah.
vote,
I
Okay.
think we should,
Let's do it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we prioritize the CARES Act money with number 1 and 2, the replacement of the HVAC system, and number 3, the replacement of carpet at Montvale, Forest Middle, Forest Elementary, TJ, and Goodview.
A motion from Dr. Hicks, second. Second, Mr. Hill, I think we've discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gerby,
Second.
second Mr. Hill, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,